When I was 5 years old, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
Type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas either works very little or doesn't work at all, so you don't produce insulin. She was diagnosed on Valentine's Day.
I had been sick for a good few months leading up to my admission into the hospital. I don't remember much of life or of really anything before diabetes. There was one moment that I remember with my symptoms where I was sitting on the couch and my mom was on the phone with one of her friends talking about how I'd been so thirsty and sleepy all the time, and how I was just like using the bathroom all the time, and just I could never seem to sleep or have enough rest, which was unusual for me.
The symptoms, honestly, I really didn't know what the symptoms were because I never knew anyone that had diabetes or type 1 for that matter. So Olivia was complaining of an earache, and we took her to the doctors, and they looked into her ears, and then she had a double ear infection. So they gave her antibiotics. This was I think it was on a Monday. So by Wednesday of the same week, it wasn't getting any better. She was getting worse. So I had called the doctor again, and then we were going to bring her in on a Friday in the morning. And she had stayed with one of my friends, was watching her for a few hours. So my friend took her to the supermarket, and Olivia must have drank probably 4 or 5 big glasses of water before they went into Stop and Shop. And then even in Stop and Shop, she was complaining that she was thirsty. So my friend, when I picked her up, she's like, Olivia is, she's really, really thirsty, and she's been really tired. And I said, okay. So then I took her to the doctor's the next morning.
Then I remember I went into the doctor's office. They tested my blood sugar, and they couldn't read it.
So he had called pediatric endocrinology, and they, in fact, stated we could wait until Monday morning to bring her into the office, or we could go to the ER. And then her pediatrician said no, he didn't feel comfortable with that.
So because of that, they transferred me to the hospital.
Thank God we did, because she was pretty much in diabetic ketoacidosis, in the last leg of it. So she wasn't producing any insulin, and her body was just her sugars they couldn't read the sugars. So that means her sugars were way off the chart. She was in the PICU for 3 days.
I just remember everyone was panicked and scared, and I was just I have no idea what's happening. And then I remember, so there was a bunch of people, coming in and out because they all wanted to see me.
Our uncle brought the entire fire department into the hospital, and then they wouldn't let me and Serena in. I was really pissed about that.
But I remember when they told my parents, it was my dad, my mom, and this doctor named Kathy, and she was telling them, and I remember my mom began crying, and my dad, and was sitting there upset also, but and I was just sitting in my bed with no idea what was happening.
It was very scary. I had no idea why Olivia had it. My first thought is what did I do wrong? I thought I did something when I was pregnant with her, and the doctor was like, nope, it was none of the above. I mean, they did reassure me, but it was very scary. And she was really tiny, so she was sitting in this big hospital bed with she had 4 different IVs.
Because I wasn't able to eat for 3 days because they had to get my blood sugar under control.
So she had 4 IVs, and that was really scary to see her like that.
I remember my first meal was mac and cheese and hot dogs. And that was one of the last parts of my hospital visit on the last day.
Once Olivia came home, we had to start changing things. Not everyday things, but going out to eat. We had to look at the menu more intensely and if we were going somewhere, we had to make sure to remember to grab the tester bag. And if we didn't, oh boy, howdy, was that an issue. That was fun. So
after diagnosis, it was difficult for all of us, for her sister, for me, her father, Olivia. We had to make sure, we had to count the carbs. That was in every type of food. So anything that she actually ate, we had to make sure that we gave her insulin for everything. First year of Olivia's life, we had to, she had to have insulin by the needle.
I know I hated injecting myself or getting, injections of insulin, but I don't remember anything before or like after my diagnosis. Just been my life. There hasn't been a lot that's like diabetes was never unusual to me because I've grown up with it. In February, I will have had it for 10 years, so that's more than a majority of my life.
I would say Olivia's grown up with a normal childhood because she doesn't know anything else. This is her life.
So diabetes is just my life. It's it's part of who I am. And sometimes I'm thankful for it. Not all the time. But yeah. Having diabetes is just part of being me.